What's happening, everybody? I am back in my new studio space in Nashville, Tennessee. Took a little while to get set up. It's cold here. I was in Florida before this. Been thinking a lot about vibe lately, and I've never developed vibe, or I've never had the audacity or the cojones to step into vibe other than doing it live. And it's something I'm going to be definitely working out next year, amongst many other things. But in terms of vibe, I thought about Marilyn Manson. Like, who's taking? There's so many things we could talk about with vibe, and I'll keep that to myself for now. But in terms of stepping into something that's bigger than yourself, or that's a part of yourself, but maybe a character, all these kinds of ideas. Somebody that definitely was doing that to the max was Marilyn Manson. And I thought about, the song that he did back when I was young that came out, The Beautiful People. And I remember trying to watch videos of him doing that live, and a lot of times it was lip-synced. And I really wanted to hear him do the screams and everything like that live. So I found a performance here. We're going to watch it together. We're going to talk about his voice and some of the things he's doing. And, when it came to the record, obviously there was a lot of production. I think Trent Reznor signed him, if I have that correct. And in terms of the vibe, first of all, a lot of that came from Nine Inch Nails and Trent Reznor. But anyway, the production of the vocals is obviously probably different mics and just a lot of different timbres. There's quiet, there's whispery, scary stuff, there's balls to the wall screaming. And then to hear that translated in at least some type of way live with all that energy is probably going to be interesting. So if you haven't seen something like this, strap the fuck in, because we're going to do it. Everybody shut up. I'm not really going to sing much today, but we're going to hear somebody else do it. Let's do it. All right, folks, here we go. Like I said, strap in and cover your mom's eyes, because it's going to get weird. This is in 1997. We hear right out of the gate and we see that he's wearing some very colorful clothing here and things, and probably cut himself somewhere, possibly by accident, probably not, and that is definitely real blood. So that's lovely. Right out of the gate, everybody looks like they came out of like an insane asylum, and like kind of feminine, kind of masculine. It's things that, in terms of vibe, that push buttons, and it's jarring, and it's kind of frightening to a lot of people, and it just makes people have to go, I don't know if I like this. And then if they do end up coming over to that side of liking it, they're going to love it, because it took them a second to kind of get over that wall. But again, talking about doing this live too, it's a whole other thing. Fucking sloppy play in there too, getting these things ready for tour and being tour tight. We're hearing that that's not very tight at all. Once again, not very tight. Where's the bass player? We have keys, we have two guitars, unless Twiggy's playing bass. I can't remember. I never really got too far into this stuff, but I'm going to try to turn it up here so that it's not blowing up your ears. And we can hear, too, that these screams he's already doing are quieter. Again, people thinking these things are like the most heavy, loud. They're not. They're collected in and pushed into and held back, and that's how people kind of doing these things. So we're going to talk about that stuff as we continue here.
And I don't want you, and I don't need you. Don't bother to resist or I'll beat ya. It's not your fault that you always run the weak bother.
Surprised he's got a falsetto. I don't know where this is in the set. I would imagine it's probably later, since it's the biggest song he was doing at the time. But his falsetto was still intact enough there. He sounds like he's already completely thrashing his voice. In terms of just being completely bananas. It's funny too, like when it comes to the feminine energy of these things, everything is like closed in like this, and it all becomes like feet pointed in. That's just a weird thing I would pay attention to or see in these types of things. So when it comes to like masculine energy, it's open this way, and it's almost like a fight stance, and it's like this. And then you see with the feminine type of energy, it tends to be more closed off like this. And you can see he's embodying all these weird kinds of mannerisms and stuff. And he's got nylons on. Yeah, it's somebody made this. Somebody created this probably, or maybe he bought it, or somebody sat back and he was like, you know what? I want this thing that like goes like this, and it's strapped around and it goes up my ass. In terms of my butt cheeks should be sticking out. Although, yeah, they totally should be sticking out. Anyway, yeah, his falsetto was there. No, is it wrong? It was still there.
Yeah,
there's the bass. Twiggy's playing the bass. I think that's what his name was, right? Again, sloppy playing, because they're all just kind of being totally, in this vibe and rocking the fuck out. But when you have that much compression and that much distortion on it and everything, in the album version, it sounded like a machine because it needed to be completely on the grid and on point. But live like this, it needs to be on point, or it's going to be and flamming and spit flying everywhere. That was cool. I heard his voice like break there into almost a whistle tone because, like I said, his voice sounds like he's beating the shit out of it. This upper scream that he's doing, as you get into the scream stuff, man, it's really fun and it's exciting because it'll teach you about your voice in many different ways. And again, it's some people think it's just thrashing your voice or whatever. No, it's not. If you're getting into this stuff, you start off quietly and you start trying to learn how to move between your registers and stuff. And some things that it took me so long to kind of recognize is that, again, you're either in a chest register or a head register. There isn't really much of a between, even though there's mixed voice and stuff, which you're going to use. You're not legitimately deciding to use head or chest when you're doing this stuff, but you will be in more of a chest or a more of a head register because there's only two places to be. But this upper stuff you're hearing, I want to talk about Static X at some point because he had a great screaming voice. And when you would hear him do the high stuff, he's literally jumping between kind of coordinations in that he's using upper coordination and this lower, and upper and this lower. Now, this lower, when you hear him doing it, he's in his chest voice. He's kind of I don't want you and I don't need you. This kind of just regular type of thing down here. And then he's moving up into this protected upper pocket for these screams. And he wants to keep going back to that place because it's the most extreme sounding, but it's also the most condensed, collected, and kind of safe in a way. And you'll hear other screamer people talk about that. I think I've heard Chris Lippe talk about that as well, about sometimes these things you can get away with doing for even longer periods of times than other types of belting and stuff because, again, there's a protection mechanism in that you're compressing and putting the voice in this kind of safe, spongy space in the back of your throat and neck where everything is kind of just hanging out and safe. And again, you're going to hear throughout this performance and many of his performances, that he keeps going to that place. He was doing it in the very first part of the song when he was going, yeah, like that. But it does take warming up and it takes some exploring to get to. And I do find that if you don't exercise that space enough, you're going to just go straight throat, and have trouble getting up to that. It's so funny to look at right here. Yeah. And like these floppy like Hitler boots, I'm wondering what's going on with that. Again, this isn't necessarily me making fun, but it's just an observation of like how fucking crazy this was and how much it would be difficult to embody the energy of all this kind of stuff and what it would make you feel like too. Because again, this isn't somebody that walks around like this all the time and it's just completely out of their fucking mind. This is somebody stepping into this empowered, insane position and trying to sell that. So did you hear the voice crack I was talking about there? Happen to look at that. So that's playback.
The bombs are left in every house. It's hard to pick which one hate the most. Oh, fever, so anatomic, size of your steamboat.
God, he sounds like he's out of breath. It's rough to listen to in some ways, but I know people fucking love this. And I wonder where he's cut over here. Like, it's hard for me to, as a very, very sensitive person, it's hard for me to see this and imagine what it would feel like, because I'm very able to put myself right in that position, but just a lot of it. And two, I don't know how old he was here, but as we get older, a lot of these rock people were very thrashing the fuck around, and then the thrashing becomes more minimal because their backs hurt and their necks hurt, and some of the stuff starts just kind of becoming less possible, like just for at least for extended periods of time.
Capitalism is made this way. The fashion vendors all will take it away. Hey, yeah, what do you say?
So there you could really hear it. You hear him go from the chest register up into that space. Up into there. I can't really do that right now without warming up, but you could definitely hear how he's just going up into that back pocket. And again, when I try to explain distortion, something that somebody explained online way back when I was trying to figure it out and I was just beating my head against the wall, is that we're always going backwards, pushing backwards. So even if you take a scale or one note at a time and you're trying to get good at this, and say you can only do it in your chest voice. If I take something like this, I should pay attention to my placement. And then I become nasal and I move my placement backwards. As I keep trying to almost swallow that sound and push it back. You can tell that everything is just continuously kind of trying to push itself back and be enveloped by tissue and enveloped and held in terms of that space, so that it can go and hold in terms of the pressure. It's taking that pressure and it's holding all back. So you can try to start off by doing stuff like that and just, in different forms of relaxation and etc. But again, then at the end of the day, just like any other thing I would teach, you want to be able to take whatever thing you're doing, whether it's the craziest screams or the lightest coordination or whatever, and try to move it through your range. That means that whatever you're doing, you're able to stay open and stay relaxed. So even if I was to take vocal fry right now without being warmed up, right there, you hear me experimentally moving through almost my entire range through about 4 octaves or so, and try to take those kind of qualities and move them up and down and keep my throat open. If you can't, most of the time you're building a wall or you're anchored in a position where you're not able to stay open, and whatever you're doing might not be serving you well because you're building a coordination that doesn't completely have connection to your entire range. So everybody shut up. Let's keep watching this crazy stuff. Let's hear him say mean there as well, because we talk about vowel enunciation. Mean. He can't go mean. He can't pull down through here. He's got to stay in that upper pocket. So listen to him with mean again, how it kind of has a little bit of mean. Why are you trying to be mean or whatever? Mean. Are you trying to be mean? I can't go mean. I have to go mean. I have to go mean. Mean. So there's not really much note there because it's vocal fry, but it's kind of like an A4. But again, I'd have to keep warming up vocal fry. Yo, what did he say? And that's too low. So he's higher than that, but staying in that place. And again, you can hear these almost kind of hitting the same note. So again, it sounds heavy, it sounds great, but it's also kind of just, it's very monotone, Hey, no, what do you say? Something beautiful, something free. Hey, no, are you trying to be mean? You never learned how to be clean. So it's kind of just hitting that same. So in terms of a good practice song, this is kind of a good song to practice because you're kind of just sticking in that one pocket. You get to go to the pocket, 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 stretch a little bit, pocket, pocket, and then fall back down. And you hear he's just locking into that coordination and staying there. Again, I bring that up because if there's a song that's moving a lot more in notation, it's going to be much harder than just jumping into a pocket that's one kind of note and staying there.
How does that feel to be one of the beautiful people? The beautiful people, the beautiful people, the beautiful people, the beautiful people.
So I think he's using a Shure 58 there too, one of the blue ones. What do they call those? A Beta 58 or whatever. Interesting too. I have no idea what he's running through. It actually doesn't sound like there's really reverb or anything in terms of effects. It's pretty raw, but yeah, man. If you're if you're one of these people, gear heads that are like, my voice would probably sound better with a better mic. It's like, not really. We chase those things. We as musicians find that there's actually a pretty minimal return on how much better we hoped it would make us, or better we hoped it would make us sound. Or I remember being young and buying like $1,000 preamp and being like, now my shit's going to be great. And then I didn't even have the ear to barely recognize. If I recorded it with and without it, I would probably barely hear the difference. And that hurts sometimes when you spent the money, but you get better and better at this, and then you see how much you want to invest in a crazy music career.
The beautiful people, the beautiful people.
I realize I can't even fucking hear the snare in this. All I hear is overheads. I don't really hear a snare at all. Do you? I don't hear any snare. I don't hear the kick. Yeah, it's weird. Man, seeing these people and these kids, some people are super into it, and then some people are probably totally not. Man, it's a nightmare for me on the spectrums I exist in my brain and body to imagine being stuck at the front of like a thing like that and then being like, I gotta piss, or just not even having to piss, but just be imagining being surrounded by all those people and being like, I can't move, I can't go, I can't breathe. Like, oh God, it's a nightmare. It's hard enough to just get me on a plane, but let alone something like this. But anyway, seeing their faces kind of like there's crazy things happening in front of them, and they're just like, I don't like this. You hear once again right there how he dropped back into chest, and then he went back into that pocket. He loves that pocket. That kid looking at the camera. I don't like this. I do dig it. Again, I don't know if I'd want to see it live. Now, as I'm older, I can experience it differently. But back when I first saw this stuff, it really wasn't my deal or my vibe. Emotionally, I didn't kind of connect with it. Again, I gotta wonder how this works out on your body and how this plays into your mind. And again, I want to keep interviewing more musicians and talking to people of different levels about these types of things, because I joined a cover band in Florida when I was down there, and I played for probably about 2 years, and we would perform almost every week, sometimes twice a weekend, which was a lot for 4-hour shows and stuff. And it gave me some practice being in front of people and trying to get my bearings on that stuff. But it wasn't necessarily the type of music or the thing that I would be wanting to front or sell myself and all that kind of stuff in terms of vibe. But at least, again, it gave me the empowered feeling of, okay, now I have to do this and I have to be in this thing. And that can really wear you out. You have to bring up all this energy to kind of be that person. And again, those things go away when you walk off stage. And to imagine, again, being in this very heightened position of intensity and trying to sell that and then coming down off of it, people are like, why do musicians do drugs and drink? I don't understand. Well, we have nothing all day, which is pretty much just sitting around waiting for the show or some interviews or some whatever the fuck, the bus. And then we have this fucking insane thing and then back to, this stuff. So to be able to do that and to write from that place and to be able to keep stepping into that place is very, very intense and can be very jarring, unhealthy. It can be healthy in some ways too, but obviously just like everything else, when it's a heightened level of something, it can be pushed to epically crazy proportions. I like the dude's voice. I like that he was always doing what he did. I like the production, the music and stuff. It was really cool. I never got into it too much. Probably will now. Twiggy's head looks like a cabbage, like one of those purple cabbages that you would go and buy. And you're like, this is a lovely cabbage. We should eat cabbage soup tonight. So let me know what you thought about this. If you have people's voices that you'd like me to talk about and break down, I'm happy to do so. But yeah, I'll see you guys soon.